live. This is the How to Sell Insurance podcast. And man, I'm so happy to be here with you guys. This is our last episode of the year and closing out a amazing 2022. We hope that you guys are having an amazing 2022 end of the year, hit all of your goals. And if you didn't hit your goals, that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode, is how to start off 2023 on the right foot. So we want to talk a little bit about some of our plans individually and what our goals are going into the year and the ways that we're looking at attacking our goals. And hopefully it can give you all some strategies that you can follow to maybe set your goals and get started on the right foot, especially if you're somebody who's pushing hard through the end of the year. Okay, if you're somebody who's just kind of kicking their feet up and just like waiting for the year to be over so that you can start in the new year, well, you can probably use some of these strategies too, but we really want to focus on the people that are crushing it through the end of the year, pushing hard, no excuses, getting stuff done right now and coming into the year hot, right? And that's one of the things that we want to highlight here going into 2023. So I am joined as always with two of my favorite people on the planet, Mr. Keith Fonseca, DJ Debt Free, and Mr. Ashton Delango. Mr. Ashton Delango Lunday as well. So let's just do a round robin real quick and talk about how you're feeling going into 2023, some of the things that you're doing right now in the last couple weeks of the year to prep yourself to have a running start at the beginning of the year. Let's start off with you, Keith, and talk about some of the things that you're doing to get ready for 2023.
Look, before we step away from 22, let me say how grateful I am to even be in this industry, to get to work with you two, to celebrate holidays. You know, it's not to be forgotten that, like, none of this was a given, right? Like, it doesn't have to be here. Everything that's in front of us, we've earned. And I'm grateful for that. So I'm reminded going into 23 that, like, the number one thing I can focus on growing is not my business, it's myself. And so people say that all the time, right? Like, oh, grow yourself to grow your business. But what does that really look like for me? It's a reframing of sleep, water, get your flow water, making sure that I'm eating healthy.
Just so everybody knows, Flow Water is not a sponsor of this show yet. We are hoping and praying that they see one of these episodes and we get a sponsorship, but we are not sponsored by Flow Water yet.
Well, it's a Canadian company, too, so that would make me proud and excited. Yeah, you know, making sure that my body is well-rested, that my mind is well-rested going into each day, and not kicking off 23 with the dreaded New Year's resolution. I'm going to get in the gym, and I'm going to eat better. And, like, January 3rd, I'm like, I'm not going to the gym. I'm not eating, you know what I mean? Like, start it now. Keep it going. Never have an end to it. So for me, those four things, right? I'm excited about making sure that I'm always reframing my healthy sleep, my water, my daily exercise, my nutrition. What am I putting in my brain? You know, and we like to wrap up the year with Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. Because, you know, it's a long, slumberous year sometimes. And when you live on the East Coast, right, we're not like Ryan living in 75 degrees every day.
I mean, Ashton is. Ashton's in Pensacola, so, you know, he's got the sunshine, too.
Okay, I'm not like two of you. I got the seasonal affect disorder going on here. I'm buying, like, sun lamps and stuff. But, yeah, you know, staying very vigilant about keeping my mind fed, healthy, motivated. And I'm not a big lover of goals. I'm a big lover of lifestyle. If my lifestyle is to get up every day and help others and grow people and show up for other people, then I think my goals will naturally occur. And that's just how my brain works. So making sure that every day is the mode of that kind of behavior and taking that into 23, not starting it in 23. You know, if I want an avalanche, I got to throw a snowball at the top of the hill, not at the bottom.
Yeah, definitely. And I love, you know, one of the things that you talked about was New Year's resolutions. And I've said for a while, you know, at any point in time, you can have a new week's resolutions. You know, like what's the difference between January 1st, 2023 and, you know, this Tuesday? You know, like there's no difference. You can have a new week's resolution and just go, this week, I'm going to do something different. This week, I'm going to capitalize on all the things that I wasn't capitalizing on. Yeah. This week is going to be different than last week. And I think that's sort of my thought going into the beginning, or going into starting a new year. And as we're inventorying last year, I do think it's important to look back on the year that you've had and see the places for improvement. But all too often, it's really, really easy to get down on yourself and say you're not where you wanted to be, or maybe you came up short of the goals that you thought you were going to have this year, and maybe you're a little bit disappointed at where you are. And so it's really easy to pile on. It's really easy to get negative and just go, yeah, it didn't happen. And, if this would have happened and if that would have happened and we should have done this and we should have done that, rather than taking appraisal of all of the positive things that did happen. What did you learn throughout this year? What do you have now as a tool that you didn't have when you started 2022? And I think probably one of the most important things for me in setting and hitting any goal is making sure that I get the short-term milestones done. So I can say, oh man, in 2023, I want to make $500,000 or something like that. Okay, cool. Well, what's that look like on a quarterly basis? What do I need to do per quarter? What's that look like on a monthly basis? And now I go, okay, well, in order to make $500,000 per year, I've got to make this much per month. And when I look on a monthly basis, now it's like, okay, how much do I need to make per week? What's my activity level need to look like? How many clients do I need to see? How many agents do I need to recruit? How many builders do I need to bring onto my team? How much activity do I need to do? Like Keith is saying, what's that going to take for me? Right? Like one of the things that I can look back on this year and go, man, this is probably one of the beautiful things, the most beautiful things that happened to me this year was I got into a routine where every morning I go to the gym. Every morning I wake up at 4:30 every day. I go to the gym, habits, routine now, and I don't listen to music. Right? I either listen to something motivational or I listen to a frequency brain energizer is what it's called. You can just, anybody can go on YouTube and just type in brain energizer or focus music or something like that. And I just play this music in my ears while I'm working out, and it clears my thoughts. It taps into the creative side of my brain. It gets me into a mode where I know exactly what I want to hit every day. And so now I have this new tool of being able to organize my thoughts, put things in successive order to execute on them. And I'm really excited to go into 2023 with that tool. So if I'm sitting here and I'm looking at, all right, well, what goals do I have for 2023? I want to break them down into smaller things. So yeah, have your target of what you want to hit for 2023, where you want to be at this time next year, but also have a target of where you want to be January 15th. Right? Like what's that target? What's the shorter goal right in front of you? January 15th, January 30th, March 30th. Okay. Those are my first goals. First couple weeks of the year, the first month of the year, the first quarter of the year. Where do I want to be then? And hopefully it's tracking you to the goal that you want. But who do you want to be? Right? What habits do you need to develop in your life, right, in order to be that person? So I love that, breaking down goals into something that's achievable. Ashton, what do you think, man? Headed into the new year, what are some of your feelings about reflecting on 2022 and what you're gearing up for in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, super thankful to be able to be in this kind of industry that allows us to create that schedule. I mean, how many people have to miss the holidays because of work? Just talking to someone, I think it was 2 weeks ago. They're going to go on the road for 2 weeks, and they weren't going to be home, but then they're going to be home right at the end, and they weren't going to go back for 3 weeks. And it's like, oh, well, it's nice, just in time for the holidays of, them not setting their own calendar. And that's such a blessing in all different seasons, whether it's the holidays, whether it's life events that are coming up, whatever the case is, that we're able to make that schedule that fits within what we do in order to still have the same income. Because sure, you could go fix that. You could go work at Walmart. Go work the 7 a.m. shift to 2 p.m. shift, and you'll be home every day. But then what's going to happen? Well, that income might drastically be different from that other job that had you on the road for 2-3 weeks at a time.
Right.
Now you lost half your income to fix that issue. Well, here we don't have to worry about that. We can still have that same income and have whatever schedule we need.
Well, talk about that real quick because so the last 2 Decembers, your first 2 years in this industry, right? The last 2 Decembers, you've absolutely crushed it. So if there's anybody that should be talking about like not waiting until the beginning of the year to get started, I think it's like your third month in the business or something like that. It was a December, you did 30,000. I think last December you did like 70,000 in production plus or something like that. So you've always had seemingly this mentality of like, I'm not waiting till the first of the year. I'm going to finish strong. I'm going to get this thing done. I mean, where does that come from? And what's your philosophy around that, you think?
Yeah, each of those times when I had those large months in December, it really came down to mindset. In the beginning, I just started out strong, not even on purpose. Each of those times, it wasn't really on purpose. My first December was month 2 in the business, and it was just like, all right, just call, set appointments, and keep going. It's month 2. You just dial and set appointments. That's it.
Do the work.
Exactly. And so it was like the first or second week did like 5,000, and then the week of Christmas was 22,000, and started having a few big sales, especially at the beginning of the week. I was like, man, well, how large can we make this week? How big can we make it? And just kept calling and writing business. I think the last app I wrote was on Christmas Eve that week. I think I did Christmas Eve both Decembers. One of them I know I did, but I'm pretty sure both Decembers I did Christmas Eve and wrote an app.
Nice.
And I realized, especially the second December, because it wasn't a one-hit wonder. The second time, the next year, 2021, came out and did over 73,000 in business. And I think 30,000 was the first week of December. But then I said, man, how massive can we make this month?
Yeah.
How big can we make this? We already broke a record, at least for me, not like a company record, but broke a PR. Now, like, let's just see how big we can make that PR. Totally. And the rest followed, because the thing is when we have the mindset that, hey, no one's going to want to meet with us, they're really not. It's the same thing of if we're picking up the phones and we're dialing and we're going, oh man, the next person's just going to tell me now. Oh, they're just going to hang up anyways. They're already mad. All right, we had that episode, Eeyore and Tigger. If you go into everything being Eeyore, everybody hates me, I'm going to eat some worms and die. Like no one's going to want to be around that, and you're not going to do well. And it's the same thing when it comes to those holiday objections. If that's your mindset, then that's what you're going to get.
Totally. And I think this is a very interesting question, because now I'm thinking about this. For those of you guys who don't know, last year, starting in December, Ashton went on a 100K in 100 days run, where he sold 100K in premium in 100 days. And we actually did an episode that's kind of lost in the archives with with Ashton and Hayden Berger, where we had all kinds of technical issues, and Ashton's dog had blood on it. And like it was crazy. Anyway, hopefully we get that episode out of the archives and get put out there. But Ashton, is very interesting because you started off that month hot. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, if they would have done $20,000 or $30,000 at the first week or the first couple weeks of December, they would have probably just chilled out the rest of December, been like, I already got my numbers, so whatever, I'll pick it back up in January. But you kept going and kept pushing all the way through. How big can I make this? And that then transitioned you into having momentum for January and February. So what kind of momentum were you going into January and February with, because you didn't rest in December? And do you think if you would have just stopped, that you would have been able to carry that same momentum and do that type of premium?
That's a good question. Going into those months, if it were any other month, I probably would have stopped. But I always love those holiday months and making it as big as possible and kind of setting those records. And it definitely helps going into the next year. One thing that I love is when you're writing business kind of toward the end, if it's not an instant issue product, it's like, hey, I'm just offsetting my taxes a little here. I'm not adding too much extra income right now at the end, and it's a little bit of a jump start for the next year. And it helps going into the new year by already having that income set, already having a good chunk that you're able to put away to kind of have stored there for that rainy day. And so that's a huge, huge benefit when you're able to push through those times. And some people do it different. There's some people that they want to work hard during the other months of the year to go, hey, I want to take off a week and a half for Thanksgiving. I want to take off 2 to 3 weeks in December. And so they do the same thing, just in a different process, that they push really, really hard in November and they put in double the time. So that way they can take that time off.
Dude. Yeah, totally. And listen, if you're one of those people, right, if you grinded throughout the year hard and you pushed through October and most of November and did that so that you could take the last couple of the weeks of the year off, by all means, do it. We're not talking to you. Right. We're talking to the people that didn't do anything, right, that are just getting started. We're talking to you for how can you generate momentum going in, having a rolling start to begin the year, having a pipeline to begin the year, rather than just starting from zero at the beginning of the year and having to deal with, one of the harder times to get business issued when everybody's calling the insurance carrier, when all the applications that didn't get put in for the last 2 weeks get put in, when everybody's in New Year's resolution, right? It's much more difficult to get business issued. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage, right? Starting off your business at the beginning of the year versus if you got a running start over the last couple weeks. So Keith, I know you got some thoughts about that and the mindset of it. So go ahead, man. I see you ready to jump in.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that we do to ourselves. Let me give you sort of a different perspective on this construct. What is different from December 31st to January 1st? Absolutely nothing. Not a single darn thing, right? We predicate this conversation on ending the year and starting the year. Well, what if my year started today? Right? What if my year ends today and my year starts tomorrow because I'm not the person I want to be in this industry and I'm not putting forward the effort? So what I heard the most important thing today was the habit of getting up at 4:30 and going to the gym. And Ryan does that on every day of the year because it's a habit. He does it on the day. Ryan does it on one day of the week, the day that ends with the letter Y.
Yeah, and to be fair, just so I can be honest, I went and saw Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock at the Inglewood Forum with my wife for our anniversary. We didn't get home until 2 a.m. and I didn't get up at 4:30 a.m. to go to the gym that day. But I did work out. I did work out later in the afternoon, but I didn't get up at 4:30 that day. But I did get up at 4:30 today and go to the gym. So anyhow, go ahead, Keith. I didn't mean to cut you off.
The opinions of DJ Debt Free on Ryan's workout is not necessarily everybody's. So my point is, right? Instead of thinking of these constructs of the year ends, the year starts, what if I'm in this mode where today is the only day that matters? Today is the only day that matters because the only day that I'm going to be here is today. But here's the irony of life insurance sales. We think about in goals. We think about of numbers. We do projections. Ryan just did a beautiful reverse engineering. And then we meet with people and we ask them about today and tomorrow. We don't talk about next year and the year after. We look at them in the face and say, if you passed away tomorrow, what does it look like?
Right.
And why don't we take action today? But yet, when it comes to the sales portion of this and the way we look at it, we get into a totally different mindset of today doesn't matter. I've got to put up this much this month and this much this year. And I have these certain goals. And I'm not saying those things aren't right because done properly, dictated backwards, those will allow me to live in today and know I'm shooting for something better. No different than I'm providing you a financial plan for when this happens. But if I live in today, the only thing that matters is my activity today, and it doesn't matter that it's December 25th, and most of America is celebrating the birth of their Savior, and half of America is not celebrating it, and all of my Jewish and Chinese friends are taking up all the casino space, and it's you know what? People die every day! So why does it necessarily have to come down to it's a holiday? It's not a holiday for everybody. It's not a holiday. And it's also my responsibility to manage my life and make sure that each day I show up for the opportunity that I have to serve others. And then it doesn't matter what today's date is. And there is no time off, right? There's time off for my refresh recoup, but someone's going to die today. Someone's going to die tomorrow and they need me today.
Yeah, I love that. It's actually something I was sharing on our one of our little team meetings this morning. Was I was like, I had a guy who, and they were like, it was this story. It wasn't somebody who was like young; they were like in their 60s, and they were like, "Well, we don't plan on getting sick." Right? That's what they said in our appointment. We don't plan on getting sick. It was like, oh, okay. And so I asked them. I was like, "Hey, do you have a newspaper? Like, do you guys get the newspaper delivered to you?" And they were like, "No, we don't." I was like, okay. Do you think newspapers still get delivered? And they were like, "Yeah, we do." I was like, okay, so I want you to do me a favor. I want you to like close your eyes for a minute and think about a newspaper. Think about today's newspaper. Okay. When today's newspaper got delivered to whoever's reading it, do you think the obituaries column is empty in that newspaper? Do you think that like on December 25th, just like nobody died on December 24th? That's the one day a year, like nobody passes away, right? So we don't got to be worried about getting insurance coverage put in place because it's December 24th and God is going to spare anybody from dying, right? Or just there's a statistical anomaly every year. The magnetism of the earth just prevents people from dying on December 24th, and we get no obituaries on December 25th. It sounds preposterous when I say that. And they know that people die every single day. And so creating that urgency of just like, it doesn't matter to me if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, January 18th or, June 7th. We're going to talk about what's going to happen if your family gets, it would be without you, it would be without your income, would be without you as a figure, whether you're male or female, or it doesn't matter. What would it look like for you if you lost your income or if you died? What would your family have to go through, especially during this time of year when we know all those things are elevated? We know more critical illnesses happen in the fourth quarter of the year. We know more accidents happen when it's cold outside and it's snowy and, people die. It's just, we know it's elevated right now. So why not talk about it? Why not take advantage of it? And I love that point, man. So last thoughts as we wrap this thing up. We wrap our last one for the year. Ashton, any last messages you want to give to people for taking advantage of the rest of this year and into next year?
Yeah. Set up the end of this year, so that way you can go into the beginning of next year not having to worry or stress about the things you didn't do this year. Because if you go into the next year, no sales, maybe this week through the end of the year, your bank account's almost at zero, and you're like, man, I got to make something. That's going to affect every single appointment you're in when you take up the beginning of the year. So don't put yourself in a hole now that you got to get yourself out of later.
Awesome, man. I think mine would be, what we talked about. Don't wait for a New Year's resolution. It can be a new week's resolution. It could be a new day's resolution. Today, I'm making a resolution to stop eating how I'm eating, or today I'm making a resolution to get on the phones and call some clients, or to make those referral calls I was going to make, or to send those cards out to the clients I was going to send the cards out to. I'm making a new day's resolution today that I'm going to take action and I'm going to be somebody different than I was yesterday. And thinking in small wins like that, I think is incredibly important. So Keith, bring us home with what your last thoughts are for the year.
My last thought is let every day be the first day of your year. Let every day be the last day of your year. And don't forget, love yourself. Give yourself some grace. If you're not where you want to be, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And we love the fact that you're listening to us, and we appreciate you. Have an amazing holiday and a happy new year from DJ Debt Free and the crew.
Oh, yeah. Well, y'all know what to do. Like and subscribe. Hit the little bell to know whenever we put more episodes up. If you're watching us on YouTube, go to writemoreapps.com, and that'll get you all of our content. We hope you have an awesome end of your year, and we know you're going to be crushing it in 2023. We'll be coming back to you with some more fresh content, and we love you guys. We'll see you later.
Peace.